So the hairstylist was wanting me to have this hairstyle of somebody from like the 1960s, some old woman or something, and I didn't want that, but I just let her go ahead with it. And then I was getting eyelash extensions, and I didn't say the whole time, it's burning, and this is not the way I want them. I don't want volume, I want classic. And then I talked with Carlos a little bit, our guest tonight, and then I thought, we're going to talk about communication and have conversation. So when I went back for a refill on my lashes, I said, we need to communicate. We need to have a conversation. She agreed with me, and we did. I met Carlos through a article that he had written in Modern Salon magazine. And I thought, oh my goodness, I would just love to talk to him. I would love to get him as a guest on my show. Yay, tonight we have him on the show. He is an award-winning stylist. He is an educator. He's had a school. He's a mentor to many, and he has won his book. He's authored a book. I call him a poet, but he has authored a book that has won 5 awards. So tonight, ladies and gentlemen, I want to introduce to you Carlos Valenzuela.
Valenzuela, that's right. You got
Valenzuela.
it.
I'm Jill Russell, host of Happy Skin Over 50, and so delighted to have you here joining us tonight. We're going to talk about what got this whole thing started. That article that you had written for Modern Salon magazine, the title of it was something like, I did not steal your client, something like
Right.
that. And then I read it and I went, oh my goodness, oh my goodness. I'm a licensed esthetician, and I almost demand, I insist on filling out the intake form, and let's communicate. What are you expecting? What do you want? Where have you been? That sort of thing. But then me as a client, I realized I wasn't doing that. So we're wanting to know how to make the best from our salon visit, and you're
Right.
the fella to help us.
Yes, exactly, Jill. And thank you for having me on and inviting me onto your show. Thank you. And hello, everyone. I assume that we have both salon professionals and hairdressers, skincare, and nail techs, masseurs, massage people, whatever, and some of our wonderful clients perhaps listening in that
We do.
had a little bit of frustration maybe with communicating to clients and to their hairdressers. And well, Jill, you I think we've hit the mother lode as far as a topic, because if we were able to communicate better, perhaps we wouldn't be having the problems we have in the world today with war and all that kind of stuff that's going on. So we're not the only ones that can't communicate well, but we are the ones that can help ourselves. Because I think, I'm old enough, Jill, to remember when if somebody said you went viral, they probably wanted to stand far from you and wouldn't come close to you until you had something checked. It didn't mean what it means today, and a hashtag was really not what it is today. But so things have changed a lot. But in order to get to what I think clients want to know today, as far as how to best communicate, I think it's important for us to look a tiny bit at one instrument, because this is such a wide topic. There's the topic about the fact that everyone has a good side and a bad side, and then stay with a good side, and all those topics. But you started speaking about something that you do as an intake form, which I think is very, very, very key. And I have to tell you a tiny story in order for you to understand. There is a covenant or an agreement, an unwritten agreement between a client that comes to a salon for a service. I don't care which one it is: hair, skin, nails, body. there's an agreement, and the agreement is that the client is going to get what they want. But then we have to really find out what it is. And the way to do that, and what I train people all the time about, is about consultations, Jill. I've been in the industry for, well, 48 years, and I've traveled everywhere and done classes everywhere. And the number one question I always get from salon professionals, it's not how do I do this latest haircut, or how do
Mhm.
I someone's hair purple or whatever. It's how can I get more clients? How can I make more money, in other words? And I always tell them, improve your consultations. Is if you do better consultations, you are going, it is the most incredible instrument. I know a young lady whose name I'm not going to mention because I don't have her permission, and she may be listening to us today, who works in a salon that is a spa. It is the girliest salon you can imagine. There's all kinds of flowers and pink things, and it's just a place for women. And she has developed the most remarkable male clientele that goes to see her. She's booked out 2 to 3 weeks in advance, and you can't get in. And I went to the salon and watched her work. And what I discovered was that her secret was her consultations. She does remarkable consultations because that is the only way we can find out when someone wants. Look at what a doctor does, Jill. I'm also old enough to remember going to the doctors. And when you went to the doctors, you sat in a chair across from him, or on a table or a bed, and they examined you. And they have you noticed that when you go to a hospital, when you see the doctor today, he hardly even touches you unless he has to. He's sitting in front of a screen because you know what he's doing? He's going through his consultation. And your dentist does the same thing. They have everything down. So I think what clients need to be aware of is that a salon professional needs to do a consultation. And that consultation is the guarantee that they're going to be able to find out what they want, and get what they want, I should say. But that's it. And there's all kinds of literature, classes, videos, and special trainers to teach you about the consultation. But I'm afraid I have to say to many of my salon professionals, we become lazy about it. We do 10 people a day, and by the fourth one, the 10-question consultation has gotten down to 3. And
Mhm.
it's, how are you? What did you have for breakfast? What are you doing tonight? And that has nothing to do with what they want as a service. So
Which
to
that
me,
makes it a disservice, doesn't it, Carlos?
yes. Yeah. I think that is the number one thing that happens, because what I think that the beauty industry, Jill, is so remarkable. And if we just look at it for a second, historically, it really tells the story of the world. I mean, I walked into this beauty industry when we did roller sets, and you had weekly clientele. But then women were at home, and their big time was, one of their major entertainments and treats was to go to the salon once a week.
Yes.
And then so hairdressers didn't have to try very hard. I remember, I don't mean to say they were bad hairdressers, but if you had a 1 week clientele back then, you were set,
Mhm.
because they kept back every week. So there was no need to communicate a lot. You knew. And also the prototype of the woman was quite similar. She would normally be a housewife. She'd have kids, And her outings were usually to the supermarket, to all of the kids' stuff, and to the salon. But now here we have this liberated woman, thank God, who could be anything, could be the president of the company that your husband works in. And therefore the need to get to know her is key, is key. So here's what I would tell a client. When you go into a salon, be very candid, be nice, be polite, be like you always are. You want to keep your salon professional on their good side. You don't want to get them ticked off. Let's say that way. They'll still do your hair and it'll work out, but you always gather more flies with honey. More bees with honey. But make sure you know what you want and state it very clearly. I would like to be able to do my hair at home. People are afraid to say that because they think we want them to come back all the time for every little thing. And we want the exact opposite. We want a new client that wants a whole new haircut and a whole new color. We don't want to see you for 4 weeks if possible. So when you walk in there as a client, what you are wanting is to have a style that you can style at home yourself. Not cut it, not color it, perhaps not.
Yeah.
But not none. And I think we need to thank Sassoon for that, because Sassoon was the one that came by in the 60s and said, throw away your rollers and get rid of all those rows of dryers, and you're going to get a hand dryer, and we're going to cut more horizontally, not quite so vertically. And the client is going to be able to jump in the shower and step out and shake her head. And it's not going to look beautiful, but it's going to look very presentable. And most people aren't aware of what that did for women. Because, women now, when I do a commute in the morning, if I'm using public transportation, very few of the women even did their hair. Some of them still have the water from the shower dripping. So we have evolved that far into hairdressing. But I think what you want as a woman and you want as a client when you sit in the styling chair, you want to communicate with your client, with your hairdresser, whatever it is you think you want to say. But then you also want to say, I want to make sure I can style this at home. I want to make sure that when you're drying it, maybe you teach me how to dry it. And all hairdressers will be happy to do that. So you go in as a client with that idea. I'm going to want a consultation, and I want to be asked what I want and what I don't like. And if you ever walk into the salon and sit down and the stylist just puts the cape on and goes for the water bottle or whatever to start doing your hair, put your hand up and stop them and say, we haven't talked about how I want this to be tomorrow morning. So I think that degree of people are afraid of discussing that. I remember clients coming to me, Jill, and I was very lucky. I was trained by very good people and had a huge clientele. So you hardly could get in. So when people got in, they felt so lucky. They were so humble.
Yes.
They were nice, but it worried me because I kept thinking they're not really telling me what they want to say because they're afraid that something's going to go wrong. And no, you really need to speak up. I think probably that applies to skincare also, doesn't it, Jill?
It does indeed. And I was thinking about with the stylist, with being intimidated or afraid to say anything because maybe they won't take my next appointment. But the stylist also is the one that's holding the shears. No, it's your head, it's your hair, it's your style, and you're paying for it. And you brought up a good point when you mentioned Vidal Sassoon. 50 years ago, it's a little over 50 years ago, I think. But with what he did, he revolutionized the hairstyle for women and men, and then also
Mhm.
the fashion. But it geared to so that we all did not have the same hairstyle either. It was
Right.
geared toward face shape, head shape, movement of the hair, growth patterns of the hair. That's something
And
that a good stylist pays attention to now, right, Carlos?
very much so. And many of the clients perhaps listening to us today, Jill, might say, well, that was nice if they could go to London or Sassoon, but what do I do now? Well, you should know that after 50 years, the Vidal Sassoon Academy and Tony and Guy and many other duplicates and reproductions of
Yes.
the system, they're everywhere. They're
Mhm.
everywhere. Everybody can do that today because that is our major focus on trying to do low maintenance hair. But I think the majority of the issues come from clients um, being timid about really saying what they want. I mean, I know that I've spoken to nail techs and the colorists in the last salon that I worked would have a lot of issues with color. And they were incredible colorists. I mean, they could color anything. But again, there was a misunderstanding, like you said earlier, Jill. They couldn't figure out if I say to you, I would like a medium dishwater blonde. What is that? I mean, I don't know. So the colorists bring out a color chart and they try everything so that you can just point to it. But even then, people are dissatisfied because you have to be very, very visual in your consultations. And my fellow hairdressers, if you are listening to me today or to us today, I really suggest that you bone up on your consultations and maybe get some kind of a software program going where you put all the information in. It's a remarkable client retention technique because it's very powerful for me to know that my dentist has my dental history up there in that little card somewhere in that computer. They know me. They know what's going on. They know whatever. And so does my doctor. So should your skincare person and definitely your hairdresser and your colorist for sure. And so go ahead and work on your consultations because there isn't a stylist in the country, in the world, who is not working on his clientele. You either need more clients all the time, you always need clients, or if you feel you have enough, then you should be working on a consultation from the perspective that you want those clients to pay more and your services to be better. If you don't have enough clients, and this is just a rule for any business, I think, if competition is stiff and you don't have enough clients, you don't lower your prices. You don't give a
No.
10% discount. You don't do anything like that. You up your game. For the same money, you give a lot more. And the only way you're going to find out is through the consultation. The other thing that I would like to remind both my hairdresser friends and the clients is that be yourself, but be your best self. We all have the good and the bad in us. people say, "Oh, that Carlos, he's so nice." And I kind of roll my eyes as I walk away because I go, if they only see me, if they only knew me when I was angry. We all have that side that and we try to navigate all the time with the best side, of course. But it is the other one. You don't want to poke at it. But be your best self, but be yourself,
Hmm.
and be very frank about it. Ask questions. And for example, one technique that I can also share with hairdressers and with clients. Let's say that you had shoulder length hair
Hmm.
and you walked to the salon, Jill, and the hairdresser said to you, "I really suggest a chin length haircut, which would be a major haircut for you."
Hmm.
What would be your question after what we've discussed already this afternoon? Your number one question would be, would I
Yeah.
be yeah, would I be able to style it at home?
Hmm.
Am I going to make it, or am I going to be able to make it look good at home?
Yeah.
And of course, the hairdresser's going to say, "Of course you will. And actually, it'll be easier." La, 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 la. Okay, well, here's your follow-up question. If I can't, can I book a styling session with you so that you can show me how to make it look good? And see, I offered those free.
Yeah.
If I know you have long hair, Jill. If I cut you to here, which you probably had that length when you were a model, if I cut your hair really short, I would say to you, "Jill, I know you're nervous. Let's do it. And here's what I'm going to offer you. When you're home tomorrow and the day after and the day after, if you have any problems with it, I want you to give me a ring and we're going to book you to come in free, complimentary. We're going to shampoo and condition you. And my assistant, not me, because I had a blow dry assistant, my assistant who dries better than I do is going to take you through the steps of styling it at home." And see, for me, that's not a $25 haircut. When I cut your hair, you paid $90
Yes.
because
Yes.
all of that comes with it. And those are the guarantees that I think clients need to look for in salons. Now, I only speak about hairdressing, Jill, because I really don't know much about skincare except that I love getting a facial once a month.
It's all related. Hairstylist,
Yes.
massage therapist, estheticians have a license. We're allowed to touch people.
Mm-hmm.
We're,
Mm-hmm.
you know, um, really, there aren't any other industries or professions really that you can. If it's
No.
a dentist, they can touch your teeth. Um, Doctors can do whatever it is that they're looking at, and the same with nurses and that type of thing. But as far as really being able to touch and nail techs to really be able to touch, and that's what a lot. I think that's what's missing a lot, and especially since we've had this last 2 years of the craziness and quarantines and that sort of thing, um, that a lot of people are missing that touch, just the
Right.
touch.
Right.
And what I love the idea that you do not charge someone because you have given them the cut and hairstyle, and you know what you're talking about, and you know that they can do it at home. And I think that's excellent idea to have your assistant, you or your assistant, to give the um, techniques, the procedure for how they can do it at
Right.
home.
Yeah. If I was free, I would do it, but normally I wouldn't be free. But I would always offer it for them to come in. And that made them a client for life
Uh-huh.
because they didn't have a hairdresser. They had a hair guardian
Yes.
or a beauty guardian who was going to be on some of our clients, as you probably know also, Jill, you had the same experience. Some of my clients have been with me their whole life or
Hmm.
had been. I mean, I started with them when they were teenagers. I did them for the prom, for their wedding, when they're pregnant, when da da da, all the way through and now I'm doing their kids.
Yeah.
And it has to do with techniques which bond, which enhance trust, such as a good consultation, such as
When
the guarantee that I'll be there for you. Like you said, we're the only profession that we, aside from the medical field, that really touches us, and that is such an intimate. There's something, I'm sure with you, Jill, it's even worse, but with hairdressers, there's something very disarming about us working on people's heads. We start touching them and whatever, and they just kind of, all the defenses fall to the side, and then all of a sudden we're hearing these amazing stories about their lives.
yes,
And therefore, I think within the context of that safety, you should be able to tell your hairdresser exactly how you want your hair to look, and also tell them that you don't like something.
right.
Sometimes we go into the skincare booth or the nail tech or the hairdresser, and we tell them, I want this, I want this, I want that. Now, also, let me make a list of what I hate. I think on that list, number one is anything red or orange. It's probably the color that everybody detests. A lot of people don't like layers. A lot of people don't like to use heat on their hair. And so all this information you must give on your own. If the client, but really, truthfully, it should be the hairdresser that kind of pulls that out of you.
And if somebody comes in, because I know this has happened and I've seen it happen before, and I hope have not ever been guilty of it, but coming in and bringing in, I've got my Vogue magazine over there. I wish I could open it up and say, I want my hair. This is just exactly how I want my hair. This is exactly how I want my skin lifted and my makeup done. It may not suit them.
Right.
It's our
And
job to be diplomatic and explain why, not say, oh, no, that wouldn't look good on you. The client has the right to know why.
I think so, Jill. They have the right to know why. And that is probably one of the most, for many years, Jill, I had a client who was very short in stature. She was a few extra pounds,
Mhm.
and she wore her hair to her waist. And she would come in and very dark. And
Yeah.
and I'm sorry, that is not your best shot, right? So, and she would come in all the time and pay this high end price to get her ends trimmed, and then I would have my assistant blow her dry, because if I blew dry that hair, I'd have to go to ER. And so, you know, she would always say, my hair, my hair doesn't look that bad long. Like everybody thinks I should cut my hair. And then I would respond, you know, I think you should cut your hair too. But I'll tell you what I think more than that is I think you should be happy. And if this rocks your world, go for it. I mean, I would not recommend it, and I think your whole life would change if you cut your hair. But I respect your opinion, and you just have to listen to mine once and know that this is not what I want for you. In the case of makeup, because I sold custom blend makeup for a while, yes, I think makeup is even harder because people come
Oh,
in
yeah.
with just incredible expectations. I mean, their skin is ruddy, and they've
Mhm.
never taken care of their skin properly, and they're showing you this Vogue model that has had, $300,
Yeah.
$500 an hour makeup people in New York do her face. So of course, it's a stretch. So I tell them, there are some things in this photograph that work for you, and some of them frankly don't. And I'm going to tell you which ones do and which ones don't. And I would tell them. Now, at the end of the day, we're going to do whatever you want. But I'm behind you. I want you to do well. And I would not just tell you not to wear something because I don't like it. If I say don't wear this, I say it because it doesn't look good on you.
Yeah.
But that's a very delicate and difficult transition, isn't it?
Yes, it is. Now, also, it's like, okay, client, my face is my billboard. I've got to look good. Maybe I don't want to, but yes, my face is my billboard. Since I'm not a hairstylist, I wear my hair the way I want it. And but if I were, then my hair would be my billboard, and it would need to be changing with the times. And what about if a client comes to their hairstylist or their salon professional, esthetician, nail tech, and wants something different? And well, no, this is the way we've always done it. And so, the technician, the stylist is going to continue doing what they want. The client has the right to walk away or not get up and walk away, but not to book and find someone else, right? And
Totally.
if they find you, if they find me, we're not stealing someone else's client.
Yeah, and I think it's because here's one of the things. If I were a client,
Hmm.
I would always book in the morning, first thing. I would never come in the afternoon or at the end of the day. That's just me. Okay? Because I know how our energy goes. I, by the time 4 o'clock comes in and you're coming after work for a full set of highlights and your
Ooh,
hair is short
yeah.
length and it's thick, we're tired. We're very tired.
Mhm.
That's a morning service. If you really care about your hair, I would take 2 hours off from work, seriously,
Yes.
and I'd show up at eight
Yes.
o'clock and get that colorist and stylist first thing in the morning when they're fresh. Because towards the end of the day, we might. I mean, hairdressers have a tendency to agree with the craziest suggestions. I want you to do this, and that. And the hairdresser will say, fine, I'll just do it and get it over with. But if a client comes in and they do not feel that the hairdresser is preparing to do their hair in the way they've seen it done, or they don't feel comfortable, I think they should say something. And I mean, aren't you, like, for example, let's pretend that you went into the salon, Jill, and you wanted highlights. Now, you know that your highlights need to be foiled wrapped. They need to be very fine weave of foils all the way down. If you, by any chance, went in and saw that the hairdresser was pulling out a cap,
Oh,
the old highlighting cap,
ooh,
and,
the rubbery.
and,
Oh my gosh.
and getting ready to put it on you, or let's just say that you need a highlight and a retouch, and you notice the hairdresser doing it backwards, not doing the highlight. I mean, in the procedure as to what's
Yes.
always done that works so well, I would just ask, aren't you going to do this? Because normally what's done for my hair is first the highlights, and then in between the highlights, they kind of shove the tint down to the roots
Hmm.
so that it colors. I never have the roots done first, and whatever. And so, oh, well, no, this is how I do it. And then you can definitely say, is there any way you can do it that way? And then the hairdresser can decide, no, that's not the way I do it. Okay, well, maybe then I need to see somebody that does it that way. You have to remember that if you're nice as a client to a service that is not going to work for you, something as permanent as color or a
Yeah.
cut, why would you live with that for 4 months or longer because you thought you would be nice to a hairdresser? It doesn't make sense. And it doesn't make sense to the hairdresser. The hairdresser prefers that you say, you know what? I'm just going to pass on it then.
Yeah.
Fine. Yeah, but yes, you have to be quite candid. So we're kind of getting some things out here now. First thing for clients, because I suspect there's clients, many clients listening. Number one, try to go to the beauty salon in the morning. We're fresh. Not that we can't do it in the afternoon, but if you have hard hair, difficult hair, uh, or a long process, you want lots of highlights, try to do that in the morning. Number two, make sure that you know what you want. And even if you have to make a little list, just write it on a note on your phone and click it on when you're talking to the hairdresser what exactly you want. And part of that is asking, am I going to be able to do my hair at home to make it look good? And if not, could I come back and you help me style it? Because, I mean, how do I do that? And then number three, make sure you have a list of things you hate or
Yeah.
you don't want.
Yeah.
You have to be very. Now, as far as how the hairdresser, he or she, goes about doing it, that's kind of like a slippery slope because there's just so many ways to do something, and the result can still be wonderful. But I would still question something that I've never seen before and ask, why is it being done that way since all my life I've seen it done this other way? The other thing that I think is important is don't be afraid to talk to your hairdresser honestly. We're okay with it, believe me. And the other thing is, this is going to sound really cheap, but I'm going to say it. Make sure you tip accordingly, and make sure you tip the shampoo people and the assistants. You don't
Yes.
have to give them $50, but you do a couple dollars if that's all you can afford to the person that shampooed your hair. I mean, you try doing 15 shampoos a day, bent over the shampoo bowl, and see how that works for you. It's a lot of work.
It is.
I never kept my tips, none of my tips. Whatever came in as tips, I would take them at the end of the day or at the end of the week if they were on a card, and divide them and give them to my shampoo people and my assistant because
How-
they did a lot of work and they were making minimum wage. So I think it's a two-way street. And I think, like I said, if you're a hairdresser listening to me today, bone up, refresh your consultations, and make sure that you. One of the techniques I also teach, and with this we probably should finish up. One of the techniques I taught everyone in negotiation, not just hairdressers, is to repeat what someone says. When somebody says, I don't want you to use bleach, for example, or pre-lightener. Okay, so here you have this little clipboard or your tablet, whatever you have, or your phone. I want you to repeat out loud. Okay, I'm making a note of that. You do not want to use bleach. I don't want my layers too short. Okay, you don't like your layers too short. And because people forget what they say. People When people hear someone repeat what they say, you're going to be surprised how many times they'll say to you, no, 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 that's not what I mean. Well, that's what you said. So as a technique for hairdressers and salon professionals, whatever the client says during the consultation, lightly repeat it and jot it down or pretend to jot it down to make it permanent.
There's something else too on the intake forms. We are under, and maybe I think that a lot of people don't realize that clients as well as practitioners and technicians and stylists, we're under a confidentiality rule. We can't, say that a celebrity does come in, or one of those backdoor clients or something that does not want to be publicly seen, going in and out of a salon or spa or clinic. We can't say, "Oh, let me get a picture of you. Oh, may I get your autograph?" We can't do that. And then if we see them out in public, it's not like, "Oh, hi. Oh, you're good. Oh, your skin looks good since I removed those blackheads." We don't do it. Maybe we see them, wave or something if, but it's up to them to speak first. And anything that a client tells us is confidential.
Well, yes, that is the golden rule, and your ability to be confidential is very public. In other words, you think you might have whispered something that somebody said, but for some reason, people that talk about people, everybody knows that they talk. I mean, and me, when I go to a place where there will be one or two of these people, I am guarded. I
Yeah.
watch what I say because I mean, what I say, I don't tell the lie, but I edit what I say. I'm guarded. I will not. You have these rings of confidentiality around you. You have people who are very close to you, who could be your life partner, could be your family, could be your very best friends. To them, they know everything about you. And then a little bit further out, there's people that know a lot, but not everything. And there's people that know in another circle some. And then finally, there's people that know what they see only with very little explanation. And and I have people categorized that way. I'm sorry because I am somewhat of a public person, and I cannot go into a dinner or a with people that I know and a bunch of strangers and disclose something very confidential because it's just not proper. So if you are a professional or a client who has a tendency to come into the salon looking for gossip to repeat it, and
Not
you
good.
think you think it's like your secret, it's a very cool technique you keep undercover. I don't mean to bust your bubble, but it's not a secret. I guarantee you everybody knows that you're a gossip. So I would say watch that very, very carefully because we are. I always have felt. I was a teacher for many years. You were too,
Yes.
Jill.
Yeah, yes.
And
Can we back up though, Carlos, and make sure that our audience knows that you're not saying that everyone knows that I'm a gossip. We're talking
no, no,
about
no,
a
no, no.
hypothetical situation, someone else. It's not me because I
Yeah,
am
yeah,
definitely
yeah.
not a gossip. But we're talking
No, no,
about someone else over there. Everyone knows you're a gossip.
no,
Okay,
no, no. If
just want to
everybody
clarify
knows,
that.
yeah, it's a hypothetical. But I just know that you have to be very careful with that. You have
Mhm.
to be very careful. And when I was a teacher, and you were a teacher, Jill, we had students. I had students in a very crucial transition period in their lives when they're teenagers. I mean, their hormones are raging. They're just starting to come out,
Yeah.
leaving that leaving childhood for adulthood, and all kinds of things were disclosed to me, and I never breathed a word because it's none of my business. I mean, it's just none of my business. But it is true. It is true. We have to be careful what we share in any event, not just in the salon, in life.
Yes. I'm gonna go over my notes here and make sure that we did not the etiquette in visiting a salon. I think we've spoken on that. Um, Now you have a degree in marketing, and you're a
Yes,
published author, and writing. You're still writing.
I write every day.
I love the way that you are disciplined in that. From what is it, 8 o'clock till 11 or noon? You
Yes,
don't do
8
anything
to,
because that is your designated time to write.
right,
Right?
from 8 to
Correct.
11. Yes. And then at 11 o'clock, I go to the YMCA and I work out for half an hour. And then I come back and I take a long shower and then I have lunch and then I edit for a little while and then I do things like this in the afternoon. But my mornings are sacred, and I've learned to block them completely because there's always a reason why I shouldn't write today.
Mhm.
Some one person or some wonderful thing wants me to do something in the morning, and I just outright tell them I can't do it in the morning because I wind up having the week gone and I didn't do any writing. And writing, as you also probably know, Jill, writing is somewhat spiritual, regardless of the topic that you are writing about. I mean, you may be writing something a very racy novel. It's still a spiritual moment because if you speak to writers, they will talk about the muse, this spirit that visits and tells us what to write. Because I don't know where it comes from. I'm not sure. I mean, and sometimes I will write something and I will post it to Facebook. By the way, you can read mostly everything I write on my Facebook page, Carlos Valenzuela. But I'll post it to Facebook, and honestly, Jill, I'll say to myself, that's not bad. You know, I don't know if I can do better until I do.
Uh-huh.
And that is an inspiration that I call spiritual. I don't know where it comes from. I don't know where the words really come from. My first novel, which is celebrating a year now, um, I don't know where it came from. I would get up and there was almost like like a sense of urgency to get to the desk at 6 or 7 in the morning and start writing because something wanted to come out. And that's I have associates around the country who are writers, and they were surprised for my first effort. I can't believe you wrote it that fast. And I said, I can't. You can't believe it. I can't believe it. But yes, I write, and I'm writing on a sequel, and I feel that as a senior citizen, retired senior citizen, with so blessed. I've been very, very, very blessed. And I don't say that to be to show off. I have had most wonderful experiences in my life. I think all of those happened and I'm still here because I think I'm supposed to share them. Not
Mhm.
not not gloat to my fellow man, but kind of like crossing a stream and telling them where the rocks are so they can step on them. That's what I think I do when I write. And I write about human experiences. I write about how funny it is that we really have more in common with each other than we have as separate. I mean,
Mhm.
I am a gay man, and I write around on gay topics, not exclusively. Most of my topics are, you know, genderless. They're about pain and suffering and love and happiness, regardless of who you are. And I would say 90% of my followers are not gay.
Okay, so in the description, I want to let everybody know that in the description, there's a list of links where you can find Carlos. And Carlos, how can someone buy your book?
Oh, you can go to Amazon or you can go to Barnes and Noble, and if
And the
you're
name
in
of the book is
Letters to Young Carlos. It's the story. It's a coming of age story that I in this 1960s So if you want to revisit the 60s and what it was like, or if you lived in the 60s, or I think you would find it very, very a bit tender, remembering all of that. Letters to Young Carlos. And I'm going to be doing a couple of seminars on that in the next couple of months. And I hope to have a sequel by fall, also on Amazon, Jill.
Oh, wow. That's going to be nice. Well, keep us informed of that. And so people can find you on Facebook on Carlos Valenzuela.
Yes.
And do you have a carlosvalenzuela.com?
Yes, I also have that. And that's my blog, and because on Facebook, you have to be brief somewhat. And in my blog, I am able to upload lengthier stories and poetry that I write. And it's a very interesting time in my life, Jill. I live in perpetual gratitude. I am blessed with very decent health for my age, and I haven't totally lost my marbles. Some of them, but not all. And I have a wonderful circle of support around me,
Yeah.
and I think it's because it's a give and take, right? I also have a short list of people that I wholeheartedly support myself and go with them and their ideas. In the book, actually, in Letters to Young Carlos, the boy, develops a friendship, a character whose name is Tulio, who is his next door neighbor, who all the readers fell in love with. I mean, everybody wanted to hear more about Tulio. But
Yeah.
the letter to Tulio says, you know what a friend is? A friend is somebody who defends your dreams. In other words, and sings and reminds you of the song in your heart, even when you forget what the song is about. So a friend is a defender of you. A friend not only doesn't judge you, they go with you. So you want to be a movie star, or you want to be a spaceman, I defend your dream and I'll help you get there. That's what a friend is. That's kind of like the topic of the book.
Mm-hmm.
Did I lose you, Jill? Hello? Jill?
Okay. It looked like you were frozen. I'm not sure. Me, a message came across saying that one of the streams is having connectivity problems. So let's go. Carlos, before we close, I thank you so much for being my guest. It's been so much fun and so interesting. And I'm sure that our audience will find it that way too, whether the consumer or a student or someone who's interested in this industry or a professional, licensed professional. We have a tradition here on Happy Skin, closing and asking a question. Who, what, it could have been a situation, could have been a person, could have been an incident, an education book, was instrumental in getting you, Carlos Valenzuela, to where you are right now.
Oh, my. That's right. You told me about that, and I did not give it any thought. But there's so many. But you know what, Jill? I really think that the people that have influenced me are not famous. Usually when someone gets asked that question, they will say, "Well, I mean, JFK said, or Martin Luther King," and they're wonderful and they say wonderful things. But I have say that my inspiration comes from very ordinary people when they do these amazing acts of bravery and kindness that usually go unnoticed. That's what really makes me want to get up and do it again. Like I'm it coming to mind that on Sunday, just 2 days ago, Jill, this lady friend of mine and I were discussing how it is that we don't ever really know what's going on with someone when we meet someone in the street or whenever we see someone and they seem to have a cheerful countenance and we think, boy, everything's good, but you don't know if they are going through a very dark period. I know when I've had troubles, I don't wear them on my sleeve. I mean, I was taught to put on a happy face.
Mhm.
So, I mean, we don't know when hairdressers and clients that come in and meet each other in the salon, there's a nice exchange, but we don't know what's going on with that person's life. And she said, that's true. We don't know, do we? And then she stopped for a second and she said, only the people who love you can hear you when you're quiet. And I stood back and I said, wow, that's fantastic. Only the people who love you can hear you when you're quiet.
That's
I said,
profound.
that is so profound. It should be a movie or a book. But so it's people like those, Jill, that I really get my charge out of. And I hope they're always in my life. And I hope you visit me on my Facebook page. And I hope you send me a message like that. Could you do it in the morning, please? I would appreciate it.
Okay, everyone, you heard that. Carlos is waiting to hear from you. It is a pleasure here on Happy Skin Over 50 to visit with Carlos Valenzuela. And
Yes.
we've gotten some good info,
Thank you.
very good information, and it's solid. It's solid information. It's not like, oh well, maybe you should do this, maybe you should do that. No, it's this is human behavior, and there are professionals, and then there are amateurs, and then there are some people who are just kind of uncomfortable anywhere they are. But basically, to get the best out of your salon experience, communication,
Right.
conversation, right?
We just never get good enough at communication, Jill. I'm sure if there's a tape of this and I have the opportunity to watch it, I'm going to go, oh my God, I should have said this, because we can always do better, can't we?
We can, and I tell you what, when you do see this on YouTube, it's going to be on Facebook and Twitter, and then there will be a podcast later. Um, but on YouTube, yes,
Yeah.
if you have something to add, by all means, Carlos, add it. And if anybody has a question, please ask, because we'll be monitoring this as we go along. The channel Happy Skin Over 50. Carlos, thank you so much. Have a good
Thank
evening.
Thank you, everyone. I'm so glad you joined us, and I only wish you a continued success and happiness always and always and always. Goodbye.